My name is Ariel with Peak Vitality Wellness Company, and this is the Pursue Vegas podcast.
The idea of Pursue Vegas was to really highlight the local people that really make Vegas, Vegas.
I love that aspect of how these visionaries are actually bringing people together.
When we hit record, our responsibility is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are. Welcome back to the Pursue Vegas podcast. I'm your host, Dave Berlin.
And I'm your co-host, Tanya Wynn.
And should we
Are
tell
we
her?
excited?
Yes, we're excited. We're always excited. But today we have an incredible friend and guest, Ariel. And she's going to tell us all about you. What are you excited about? Because we met, last summer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we met last summer, and I have watched you just continue to kick all kinds of butt around this town. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show. But please tell us about you and all the things that you're excited about.
About me. Well, let's start with what I'm most excited about. I am very excited about Peak Vitality Wellness Company, namely because I do believe that things have shifted continuously. It's like watching a baby grow, and it's just so beautiful. And I have a 3-year-old, so it's like in that toddler stage where I'm seeing how things are starting to grow so fast and evolve so quickly. And there was a period where it felt like things were slowing down, and I didn't know what was next for Peak Vitality. And something just clicked, I would say, in like the past week and a half, where I'm like, okay, it's like a re-signing up for the vision in a way where I have more clarity, more consistency. So
I love it.
And said my 2 favorite words.
Right, clarity and consistency, or peak vitality. No, what's interesting is, we've had a lot of different people on the show, different modalities or things when it comes to health and wellness. But what's fascinating about you is that you work with a very specific group of people. So could you tell us about why you're different? And this just isn't another. It's not just another trend or something like that where everyone's like, not that it's bad that we have so many yoga instructors or facilitators, but but you're working right now.
He's like looking directly at
I'm immediately thinking through, like, I have a good lawyer, right? I have a pretty good lawyer.
If you know I do.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, it is trendy, but that's a good thing, right? Because it means more and more of us are realizing the importance of health and wellness.
Absolutely.
So we're in a good place. So where my niche is different is that we cater to seniors. So those over, not in high school, those over 55.
I love that. Not in high school. That should be across all your branding.
For them too, to have yoga instructors.
It's like, we do it for seniors, and then the whole class of 2026 shows up, and they're like, somebody said seniors? And you're like, oh, no, that's not what I meant.
So you're 17, we're looking for 70.
Yeah, 70, exactly. Closer to 70, yes.
So when you say seniors, what age range is that? Because I immediately think 55 plus. Is that totally off? Okay.
Yeah, even then, there's times where I meet someone that's 55 plus, and they're like, oh, no, let me refer you my parents and my grandparents. The whole idea is our generation tends to very much understand why we need so many yoga instructors and why we need to make sure we're expanding our health and wellness. There's an entire generation that didn't have access to any of this information, and they're struggling to get access to it. And so the whole idea is to help them start finding those resources.
I may be way off on this, but I'm just going off of my generation. I know you're talking about generations before me, but if they brought up I'm thinking about this yoga thing, they probably got struck.
Yeah.
With a sandal across the room. It's like, what mental health
It's not that they didn't have access. Even if they did have
depressed.
access, they were not going to. I
think it was just the whole mentality
it.
around that and spreading awareness in terms of the niche that you're under. And it's kind of like, everything's getting more gentrified and it's just getting more hip and young. Yeah. And now the overflow of seniors, they got to go somewhere else that's just not assisted livings. And then, the kind of trends that go towards the after 55 care. It's a little different. It's a little harder to understand because don't get me started on the whole hospice fucking model. But
right.
Don't get me started on that corruption. But anyways, that's for a different show. Or we can talk about it. It's like, what really irks you? Why are you fighting this good battle? Because what I'm hearing is that you have both a for-profit and a nonprofit, but you're leaning hard into this season to lean into the clarity on taking this nonprofit further?
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest reason is, so what irks me is that, and so you did kind of touch on it, is there are, when I was studying to become a senior fitness specialist, so that's where I started, was fitness for seniors. I was learning that by 2040, we will have like the largest number of people over the age of 70, and then our healthcare expenses are just going through the roof. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like astronomical how bad it's getting, and who's going to have to pay for it. And I know this is kind of getting on the practical side. There's more of that emotional side, but it's going to be our generation that's paying for all of this. And so even looking at that, knowing that our parents and our grandparents are suffering from the system that's just happened, you know? And so what it is, they just didn't have the tools, they didn't have the resources. And so now they're getting put into facilities because our generation is really busy. I have so many stories of those that are in their 40s or even 50s where they're having to take care of their parents and they either can't afford to do so or they don't even have like the time to do so. And then now there's all this guilt around how do I take care of my parents? If I go and take care of my parents, I don't have any more PTO. I don't have anyone that's going to watch my kids. And so we're running into this really big problem where we don't know how to best take care of our parents. So it's a big one.
Yeah, because the healthcare system as a whole is archaic already, and you know that I don't want to divulge into just the insurance side of things and the money side of things, but coming from a nonprofit and just taking a look at how quality of life is looked through the modern lens, I think that that's kind of like where you're leaning into it, right?
Yeah.
Because you know it's been a while since when I was 16, so that's a while ago. That was almost 2 decades ago. I was a CNA. I was the one wiping asses, the EMT, the hospice nurse, and I wanted to take that route until I understood what that took and the kind of heart that it took. And I was like, I don't think this is me. And it was nice during the year that I was exploring, you know, the medical fields and just understanding how to connect with older people, because that's kind of my soft spot, because I didn't grow up with, you know, grandparents and all that stuff here in the States, and our medical system is completely out of whack currently. So I love hearing your take on where you want to lead into, like how you're going to lead these people into a better quality of life. And we joke about it, it's a whole mindset about like mental health, and these modalities are not really welcomed. And now we're kind of reintroducing them to like, hey, like it's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think, so for me, it did start with fitness. And so there was a lot of fear around the fact that like our health is declining and people are living longer, but they're getting sicker faster. And there was a lot of fear around it. And then what started to happen is I started to take better care of myself. And then from there, it went from like the surviving to thriving, where I noticed there was a lot of benefits to enjoying my life and having fun and having peace. And so what happened naturally as I was starting to improve, I noticed those are the things that actually help our parents even more. So even aside from fitness, that's where I started. We recently put on what's called the Forever Fun Senior Fair, and it was about bringing all types of resources to seniors aside from just fitness. So we had like Reiki, we had art classes, we had dance classes, we had salsa dancing, we just wanted to provide so many different resources that are going to help seniors have fun and enjoy their life and kind of reignite that excitement that you're still here. You can still enjoy this one beautiful, precious life that you have. So I think having fun and enjoying your life do way more for the body than like the list of rules that they're going to get from their doctor and their nurses of like, do this, do that, don't do that, do this, you know? I think that adds so much stress.
Thank you for saying that, because doctors are just legal drug dealers. Yeah. I will say that proudly. And for me, leaning into...
Does your lawyer cover her?
Yeah. Same lawyer. It's actually her lawyer. Yeah.
We're both going to be in prison at the end of this conversation. Goodbye. Nice meeting you.
So nice to meet you. I'll come visit.
But I think in terms of health and fitness for seniors, Dave, like tell me, you know, it's kind of messed up, right? Like where the seniors are going. And when you mentioned Reiki, because that's a more spiritual modality, there's yoga, there's things that are outside of their control, obviously, because for me, mobility is really important. And another thing that I got really obsessed with over the last 10 years is all the Sardinians, all the blue zones, and understanding their diet. But even when you look at the blue zone and their diets, you look at their stats on that's reported, and then you find out that certain countries are now taking that tax side of things and not reporting when somebody else died because they get the money. So that's a different set of corruptions within the blue zone too.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's kind of where I'm leaning into it, is people that have community built around them sustain a better quality of life, and I'm all about that. And it's not just what you eat and how movable you are, but yeah, like some of these people that I've talked to that are barely in their 50s and 60s, they're falling apart, they're stiff, they're not mobile, and they I think mentally their life is slowly declining, and therefore it's kind of like they're manifesting it within themselves. They're like, well, it's all downhill from here. I'm like, yeah, if you say that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you are going to go down if you're mentally going down, you know?
Yeah. So it's so funny. This whole time I keep having this new Saturday Night Live skit go through my head. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called Medcast, and
Is that what you try to send me?
it's like we've learned that men the age like 20 to 45 don't actually go to the doctor, and they're more likely to get their information from a podcast. And it's like, and then so we've set up a doctor's office that feels like a podcast. So, but I think about that. I'll have to like cut away to that or something. But for me, it's always been health to me, very simply put, right? There's all the very specific things that I can't speak to because I'm not a medical professional. But to me, if the head goes, the body goes with it. And if the body goes, the head can go with it. So when you talk about mobility and stuff like that, like sometimes if you have an injury, like sometimes your head can kind of spiral with that. And you could just go off in that direction, which only causes more stress, causes more inflammation or more whatever. The same thing the other way around, though. If your head and your heart are going in the right direction, then naturally you start to feel better. And sometimes you start to make better decisions. Community is a big piece of that. So that's what I love about what I've seen you create. Because even like during Global Entrepreneurship Week in 2024, you hosted your first big wellness fair and got like a lot of people involved with that. And it's just seeing all your stuff from it. It's literally just have fun. Like they don't have to have information and all that stuff forced down their throats today. They just, if they have fun, they're going to be more likely to not be upset or in the worst case, bitter. Because if they're bitter, it doesn't matter what information you're giving them. They just don't. They're not going to process it.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because I think it's very natural that that's how it works. So even at any age, right? At some point you notice there's issues with your health. So then usually you start to work out and eat better. Like that's our natural first go-to. So it's the physical body, right? And then we start to realize that we're like yo-yoing in that game. So then we realize, oh, it's a mental game. Like there's something in my mindset that's keeping me here. And then I would argue that even like that next level is the spiritual side. So like, or we can get stuck in our minds. And I think we've done that to our older generation is, and even us, like we're in that information age where we have access to so much information. Seniors, they have so many doctor's appointments. So they're constantly being told, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. And, you know, I'm not 60, I'm not 70, but I do imagine, like, what is it that's constantly ruminating in their minds? Because I know where my mind can go when I'm up at, like, 2 in the morning, whatever. So to think about, like, and I know I hear this with some of the clients I worked with one-on-one, is they will go down that rabbit hole of, like, kind of manifesting pains in their bodies because of an injury that they saw their friend go through. And they've been replaying that story in their head. That's something that they haven't yet experienced, but they're so afraid of experiencing a fall that their friend experienced 20 years ago. And then there's just so many other things that they just start to collect in their own mind. So then on the spiritual side, I think even if we take out like the woo-woo side of spiritual, think of it as like being in good spirits. Like when you just feel good, when you feel happy.
When the sun's shining.
When the sun's shining. And like when you just remember to like stay in that feel good feels, you naturally start to make better decisions for yourself. So start to take off that pressure from the mind. And so that's literally the intention behind Peak Vitality, is how much more can we just allow seniors to just enjoy those last 30, 40, 50 years? Like get them to a dancing class, get them to an art class, get them to, if they want like a part-time job in something new, like how can we get them into fulfilling work? How do we get them to volunteer? How do we get them to whatever is going to help them start to feel good, I think is what we need to start helping our seniors do.
That's great. I love that you're doing that. And like literally when we're talking about this, when we start getting into like just how long people live, you know, people are living longer. But I saw a funny meme just the other day, and it was like, because I'm 44, and it was like, oh, for everybody in their 40s, like we're really starting to see like who took care of themselves and who didn't. Like I already have a lot of people that I went to school with that have already died, like from like heart attacks.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm from Oklahoma. So it's like meat and potatoes, you know what I mean? And just people that did not take care of themselves. And I fit that for a long time. Like I smoked cigarettes for a long time, and then just something one day clicked, and I'm like, I think I want to live longer.
Mortality kicks you in the face at 2 a.m.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
It's like, am I going to be here long enough for it? I was in your head. I was planting those seeds. No, thank you for taking care of a population that's unspoken for, because coming from the capitalism side, and I did want to invest in assisted livings before in the real estate side, and just understanding the cycle. And then once I understood how much per bed and the churn and the burn, and coming from somebody that used to want to be a nurse and that are friends with nurses, I'm like, fuck this shit. Like, what the hell? You know? And I was like, I don't care how good the money is. It's just not aligned to me. Like I'm not saying it's not the money, but it's always like, there's always like a moral conduct that I feel like we have to obey by. And I'm like, I don't think I'm meant for these type of dollars, even though I understand the business model.
Yeah.
Because I envision my parents the same way, like my grandma was like by herself, you know? So I'm just like, kind of like, how would I feel in their shoes if their kids are just pawning them off to like a community of old people and they're just kind of sitting around waiting to die? And I think that's the greatest fear that older people in the hospice has told me or shared with me, because I'm the one sitting with them and their family are not visiting them.
Yeah.
So I'm the kid that's pushing their wheelchair around, reading to them, because their family is like you said, too busy, or they don't give a like they're like, oh, it's okay, like they'll take care of them.
Yeah.
So it becomes like kind of like the nurse's responsibility of taking care and keeping the mind alive. Because when I bartended, you know, there's a lot of senior guys like 60s, 70s that come in during the day, and they're like, you know, Tawny, like when you get to my age and you have friends, they're either all dead or we're just sitting around and, you know, looking at Bill's medical bill on like a knee replacement, or which one of us is going to get our hip replaced, or the heart thing. And it's just like it's a total real like reality that I never understood from our kind of like perspective.
Right.
But I was kind of immersed in like the everyday people, and they're like, oh, like my hip's going out today, and then their friend would be like, well, I got put on 2 new medical, you know, two new meds today. Like it's like some sort of like badge of honor.
Yeah.
They're like, the older you get, the longer your
Yeah.
medications lists get. You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want to be like the old people living life in the village, like the loofah, like living the loofah life. Allegedly. You know, and they have such good spirit still. And, you know, and I met some girl that was talking about like, oh, seniors and sex, and people get grossed out. I'm like, no, like, I'm going to be banging until like I'm in my 90s and my hip give out. And then you know. But that's the kind of quality of life you want, is like the things I can do in my 30s, I want to be able to do at 90. You know, we want to be those freaky old ladies that are like just saying whatever they want, but like are living life and still drinking wine, eating pasta. Because they're not afraid of like their medical bill or anything, you know?
Yeah.
So systemically, like, I'm so glad you're taking the change to go into the initiatives of kind of leading them somewhere that's like not more meds and not more surgeries.
Yeah, thank you. You said so many important things too, because like if we look at this big picture long term, because this goal, this dream, it took a long time to get here, but like I said, like there's so much clarity and certainty, because I have a goal of helping 1 million seniors by 2040. And as we're getting older, I do think about the fact of like what I'm creating with this nonprofit. Like it goes so well that when we're older, it's easy for even us to have the resources we need to sustain our life when we're in our 90s. And then beyond that, I have a 3-year-old. So when she's in her 90s, like I just, the fact that it's just so normal to now live to 100, but those last 30, 40 years are suffering. Those last 30, 40 years are in a facility. The last 30, 40 years are alone and
around
isolated.
in a wheelchair.
Nobody's visiting you. You're watching all your friends die. You're comparing medical lists. Like it's not living, you know? And so that's the problem I want to solve. And then you shared a good point too, because I have a lot of nursing friends too. This system where you have to work like 14-hour days, and we're learning that after 8 hours, your brain's basically mush. So then we're not even giving good quality anymore, which is no fault of the nurses. It's this, like the entire system. So think about it. If our seniors are not only living longer, but they're living better quality lives, it's also going to be better for all the workers involved that have to be taking care of these seniors.
Yeah.
It's going to be better for the nurses. It's going to be better for like the role that you had to play. The assisted living facilities would get better. So there's no way it's not a win-win for all of us to start taking better care of our seniors.
Well, that's a great point because, when you talk about those 14-hour days, like that's going to cause more stress, and therefore your head goes, the body goes with it. It's going to cause more disease, more, challenges. Plus, I've known people. It's funny because there's a lot of similarities between people that are in the medical field and people that are in law enforcement. Like there's a lot of emotional trauma that goes with some of those different roles, and that leads to lots of alcohol, smoking, just vaping, whatever the thing is. Like people do a lot of things to cope with what they're going through, and all that does is just create more stress and more disease. What I love everything that you shared, and you actually said some magic words in there, because you said that's the problem I'm trying to solve. And we always have to insert Mike Kim into every conversation. The 3 questions that he always asks is, what pisses you off? What breaks your heart? What problem are you trying to solve? So was there something that got you emotionally charged to take on this responsibility? Like what is your story in that? But also what made you want to do this here in Vegas? What brought you here?
Yeah. Well, let's start. So it was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I'm trying to condense it. So 8 years ago, I was working in hotel sales. So I grew up in Vegas. So I was a traditional, got my degree in like hotel management, got into the hotel sales world, and I ended up quitting without anything lined up because I was just done working in a basement, sitting in a chair, and just it was not for me. So I quit that job. I didn't have anything lined up, and just randomly applied for this job that I was underqualified for. But I was like, let's just shoot my shot. Let's see what happens. And so that job was a company that was renovating senior communities. And so they were renovating all the kitchen and the bathrooms. And it was 644 units total, so in 3 different communities in the Vegas Valley. And so they were hiring this new made-up position of somebody that could be like a liaison between the construction team, the community managers, and the residents that were still living in those apartments. So we had to move them out, renovate their kitchen and bathrooms, and then move them back in safely because they're all over the age of 55. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I had to sit with every single resident. So that was 600 people plus. And so I was sitting with people over the age of 55, telling them, hey, I'm going to move you out. We're going to renovate your kitchen and bathroom. You're going to love it. It's going to look great. And then we're going to move you back in. And the conversations I was having were just so amazing. I was meeting the most incredible people, and I was learning so much just by being in their presence. And that's the other thing, like when we think our generation is so different, and in ways it is because of the technology we have. But when you actually sit with someone that's over the age of 70, you realize we have so much more in common than we don't. Yeah, and so I started to notice, this is like a social experiment in my own head of why was it that some seniors were so happy and fulfilled, and then, of course, their health was better, and then you had some seniors that they were in their 70s, and they're still ruminating over a problem that happened in their 30s. They're still mad at somebody they worked with, and they're holding on to a story of pain, a story of hurt, a story of anger, and you could see that now playing out in their lives, and so they're alone. I met so many seniors that are in these apartment units and they're alone, they're isolated, their living conditions are terrible. You could be in the nicest senior community and they themselves are living in the worst conditions because nobody's checking on them. And so, it broke my heart. It was pissing me off that how come some are living so great and some are not? And our choices do play a huge role in it. And then on the flip side, having the tools and the resources to choose better, choose love, choose to forgive and let go, all of that. Having ways to still enjoy your life, knowing that people are still here for you, all of that. It just all plays a role. And then life just kept bringing me back to want to work with seniors. That job was incredible in so many ways. It got me transferred to the corporate office in Atlanta, so then I was overseeing renovation projects nationwide. And yeah.
So first of all, I have to say thank you, Mike Kim, for those killer questions because it really does hit.
He does a nice layup for us.
Right? Very much. So now let's talk about the community because it is a very unique community being here in Las Vegas. I know you said you grew up here, but what's really interesting is this is a retirement community. A lot of people come here from other places. Are you seeing a lot of that too? Because obviously this can't be like the same like 100,000 people that just like started Vegas, right? So
I was like, they just like got old and like, here we are.
They're just like, I think we'll just stay here. No, like, do you see like a lot of people coming from other places? And what percentage would you say are coming here with no one? And then are there a lot of people that do have family close? Are you seeing kind of both?
I mean, we see it in that senior communities are going up everywhere. And so the more you extend out in Vegas, tends to be a 55-plus community that's being built. There's over 600 senior communities currently. That's either like assisted living, independent living, memory care, hospice care, all of that.
How many?
Over 600.
It's a lot.
Yeah. That's
I
insane.
live by a few, so.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, there's some of the private ones where you can turn your home into assisted living facility, all of that. Yeah, so people do like to come to Vegas. Why not? It's fabulous Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Why not? And so that is part of the vision is like I do see Vegas being a blue zone, and I do see Vegas being
like recognized for that.
Yeah, this is like my big vision is people are moving here. They're over the age of 55, and we actually have currently we have the worst healthcare system in the nation. Nevada does. And so it's not the best city to come and retire because we don't have the best doctors, nurses, facility. It's a known fact.
Yeah.
So what I envision is, how is it that the state of Nevada has the worst healthcare system, the worst system for seniors, and yet somehow, some way, seniors are getting better. They're getting healthier. They're starting to thrive. They're starting to take better care of themselves. It is becoming a blue zone city. How is this happening? And I like to believe that peak vitality is playing a role in that.
You are.
Yes,
Yeah, I was going to say, they're not just sitting at the slot machines,
Yeah, I was
like
gonna
on
say,
a Tuesday morning.
Is it the air quality that they're pumping into the Cosmo?
Oh,
Because,
well,
I don't think so.
yeah.
They
Those
started winning
smells-
more money.
Yeah.
These machines.
Bingo, like bingo. It's
You got the Gertrudes.
so good for mobility.
The testimonies are coming from the 70-year-olds.
Yeah.
She's like, I added 5 years to my life because of my bingo board.
Well, because they have friends and they got something to do, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because my parents come here next week, and they would never think to come here because they think it's just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And my mom thinks it's like a mob city still, and I'm like, maybe 100 years ago. I'm like, but business is blooming here, and we're barely in the infancy, and like real estate is so much better here than California. So direct hate to the real estate market, but it's just like. I just feel you said something with longevity and how we're going to turn into a town that focuses on longevity. And that's like my secret love letter or something. Like, that's my love language. It's like the reason why we're doing anything, it's because you want to enjoy the rest of your time.
Yes.
Because the meaning of life for me is to enjoy the passage of time. And I don't want to be like hurting everywhere, and it's just kind of like calling Dave. Yo, my shoulder just gave out.
What kind of pains do you got today?
My knees
Let me one up you, Let me push you down the stairs so you're in more pain than I am.
My knees are still jacked up from the Marine Corps, but that's a different story. Just a side note, when your mom comes, you should totally hire somebody to dress up like somebody from the mob and like show up at your house, but it's a male stripper.
Oh
and
my
then
God.
Did all of her fears come true?
Well, my stepdad is also here.
Yeah.
He had a stroke 5 years, so I don't think that's gonna
probably
go.
won't work out.
He might shoot
We'll
the
send
guy.
him-
I don't know.
he can go
He
play
might be the mobster. I
He
don't
can
know.
go play bingo.
Yeah.
So what? That's an amazing vision. So thank you for sharing that. And you are doing it. And I see it all the time through everything that you share, all of your posts. Like, you're just always lit up with the most positive energy, and it resonates for. I can only imagine like how that comes to the senior community. What do you see as like the biggest challenge? I mean, obviously the healthcare part. What do you see as the biggest challenge for the community itself, aside from healthcare?
Okay, so on a small scale, when I'm sitting with someone one-on-one, typically what I do one-on-one is I will train on like the fitness side. We'll do mobility, stretching, small movement, and then I end with a guided gratitude meditation session. And I do that in senior communities. I do that one-on-one in different sessions around town, all that. And usually there's like this hesitation around the meditation portion of like, I can't sit still for more than 2 minutes. And however, that ends up being the most beautiful time. And that tends to be the most transformational time for them, is that time to just sit and to actually practice gratitude when we live in a world that practices stress. And they've been programmed to practice what's not working in their body. So to sit and actually practice, like, thank you for my cells, thank you for the breath in my lungs, thank you, like just taking that time is so transformational. And so I think the struggle that I'm foreseeing is, well, two things. There's certain seniors that will come to these events. Like whoever showed up to that Forever Fun Senior Fair, they're the ones that are going to go to the dance class already. They're already the one that's living life, to the fullest. The struggle is reaching those seniors that are alone and isolated, and they've kind of already chosen that. And that's okay. Like there is truth to like, we can't help everyone, right? However, my mission and my goal is to like, how do we reach those seniors, the ones that I did have to sit with in that job I was working 8 years ago, where what I envision is that we would have caseworkers and social managers that will actually go into those homes, and we have a system in place where we start getting them back into society. We get them back into community, and it's through something that they would enjoy. So if it's not fitness, I'm not offended. If it's not meditation, that's okay. Like, what is it for you that's going to help you want to be back into community? Because we're learning that isolation is not good for us. If there's anything that 2020 showed us, it's that none of us are meant to be isolated. We need community. So to me, that's like the biggest piece that I want to look at.
I know the answer, and it's not pretty. And it's not cheap. And this is kind of horrible. It's literally TV advertising like in the middle of the day, like whenever Price is Right is on, and it's whenever Wheel of Fortune is on.
Okay.
I know that sounds super cheesy, but it's like, I know that sounds cheesy, but like that's they're not.
Because they're not sitting on social
watching
media,
podcasts. They're not probably not on social media and stuff like that. It's like literally it's television ads.
Yeah,
where it's like,
that's so true.
I never thought of that until when you said it. I'm just like, where does my marketing brain go? And
it's like, what are these people doing?
Yeah, they're watching.
How much are TV ads now? I'm like,
that's what
I
I'm saying.
have a girl for you.
Oh, you do? Okay. I'm like, who's ever watching? This mission is real.
It's not going to be like
on TV.
But I mean, but then you also like now watch the next time you watch TV during the middle of the day, watch the ads that come on.
I don't even have TV.
I know.
Do you have TV?
I know, yeah.
Who has TV?
I kind of do. I watch.
Well, my
Wheel
parents do.
Fortune
I can go to their house.
Into the bracket nicely, Dave Berlin.
Wait, like cable?
Yeah, cable TV. I know it sounds
Do you
crazy.
have a landline too?
Yeah, it's cable TV. Yeah. And again, but if you really like put yourself in their position in their role, like they're probably not watching Netflix. And again, I know this is talking to a much older demographic. I know everyone watches some level of all those things, but a lot of them are still getting their news from the place they got their news from for the last 40 years, 50 years. And they're watching it on cable television.
Yeah.
So it's like those
Thank you for that.
those little ads and stuff like that. So
Or just make a good old pile of newspaper and throw it at their door.
yeah, right.
A newspaper.
Like a Sunday morning route or something.
You know what's funny about that? Like that's kind of a nice little trigger, like marketing.
Yeah.
Like if you threw a newspaper and it hit somebody's door, like what the hell is that? And it's like it's a newspaper. And then they open it up, but it's really just a big flyer.
Yeah.
Are you lonely?
This just in.
How would that ad run?
Sunday, and then
That
just
would be
make
a
sure you
nice
put bingo.
brain session.
Yeah.
Like come out for. Yeah,
Okay.
like I'm already kind of thinking of.
Okay,
about
please.
that,
We're
but
going
that was-
into the marketing strategy here. May this also serve you all, but give me the tips.
We do this a lot though. Like we'll just randomly get on phone calls, and we've got to hang out a lot. Yeah, we'll catch a phone call. Sometimes it's like we won't talk for days, and then we'll like get on a phone call and talk for like an hour and a half, and like probably both be doing something. It's like I don't care. Like what's up? We'll just nerd out.
And it's usually a bunch of like strategy tips and tricks that he gives me, and I'm like, okay, now I can go another, 2 months on this mission. Like,
Right?
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
No, I love that mission too because you brought up something even with the healthcare workers. I know, like 12, 14, 16 hours. And the reason why they check out and they're so, I would call it numb to a lot of the things that they see here, because Vegas is known for car accidents and DUIs more than old people falling over. You know what I mean? So I think to disassociate emotionally from that leads you from working in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. It just starts compounding where you're used to seeing people go. It's kind of like the chain, because America, even the healthcare system, runs kind of like on a manufacturing chain. It's just kind of like, this is where you go next, and this is where you go next, and everything is kind of like structured out for you, which I hate to say that, because I hate systems in place like that. It's kind of like, once you're in this box, you're hurt, you stay in big pharma and we feed you the meds. You know, so they kind of move from one box to another and they don't know anything else. And then anything outside of that feels very alienating, because it's not like you can put out an ad that's like, are you lonely? And, you know, but if you were saying like, hey, tired of your friends like bitching about their medical condition, like something a lot more aggressive that kind of like not just addresses the pain, but it's kind of like, do you still want that kind of lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of important to understand, like, what are old people doing these days?
Yeah. No, that's a good one. And I think that's the biggest thing is, so a little bit more, if I could share about like the
100%.
vision. So like there's basically 3 buckets. And so I want to keep having Forever Fun Senior Fairs, which is where we gather all the different resources within the city that want to be a part of this. Like, how do we get seniors to, so providing like the art classes, the dance classes, the programs through Ali, which are amazing, and different things that seniors can do to enjoy their life. So we're not looking for life insurance, funeral homes, memory care, hospice care. Like, there's plenty of those. They have the resources for those. We're looking for what can they do to enjoy their life.
Yeah, enjoy their life, not prepare to die.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then, so bucket number 2 is reaching those seniors that are isolated and alone. And so I want programs that are going to include like those that are in their 20s and 30s to go sit like a companion, like go sit with them for an hour. It's a total win-win, because you're going to learn so much from that 70 and 80-year-old. And then they have somebody that's visiting them that's not going to be their niece or their daughter, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's creating that gap, or filling that gap. And then the last part, the 3rd bucket would be how to help our generation know how to best take care of their parents, because that conversation is so difficult to have with your own parents. Like, my parents won't listen to me, right? Your parents probably won't listen to you, right?
Yeah,
And
try
so-
bringing up a trust.
Right.
It's kind of like just a reminder that you're going to die, but what's going to happen?
What's going to happen? Yeah, no, they don't want to hear that from you. And a lot of the clients I do have are because somebody around my age referred their parents, and they were like, my mom's not listening to me. Like, can you go talk to her? You know, my dad's not listening to me, you know, and it makes sense. And so I want to help our generation know how to better take care of their parents. So those are the 3 buckets.
And it's easier to sit with somebody else's set of emotions than kind of like to face your own. And I feel like that's where our parents have an issue of not addressing their own emotional unavailability that they've had most of their life. So all of a sudden, like, let's just call it 65, and they have to face mortality if they haven't already.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And it's just to sit with that, and it's kind of uncomfortable if like someone's kid's sitting there and they've never sat in an emotional space together. It's kind of like it's heavy, you know. So I think I love the buckets on how you broke it up, because I'm in. Like, sign me up. I'll be the first one, because I love sitting with seniors, and hospice is where I learned the most before turning 18. It wasn't even about anything else. It was like, I just come there and I used to volunteer just to like read to people and talk to them, because I felt like safe with them, and they always had something to say. And I was like, 16, and there were so many like funny stories that came out of the older seniors that I got to hang out with before they passed, that like I still remember it better than like someone I talked to last week here that was my age. You know, because the wisdom, and it's just their energy is so authentic, and and there's just something about people that's already kind of knowing where they're going, that they have no fucks left, and they're just like giving you like, here's life, kid, that kind of thing, you know. And like, I imagine like if my uncle can, he'll sit there with a shotgun and then like a hay and just like, let me tell you what's up. You know, like those are the people I want to talk to.
Yes, the wisdom. And I know, like, we do have those stories. There's so many times where I was sitting with someone or working with someone that's 70 or 80, and without them knowing what's going on in my life, they're speaking into my life, like literally to the T of like, oh, when I was 31, da 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 da. And I'm like, are you looking into my life right now? Like, how do you know this? And I think that's what's so beautiful, is that when our generation sits with that generation, the amount of times where you start to realize like, oh, maybe I do care too much about things I shouldn't, or maybe I need to chill out a little bit. Maybe I need to get less
about
fucks.
Susan in HR,
Yeah, Susan in HR.
Well, I don't know if I just like suppressed this memory, but when you mentioned working in a hospice at 18, I worked in a funeral home when I was 18.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah, so it's like it's interesting to look at mortality and look at life in that direction. You mentioned a bucket though that got me fired up. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I don't have any parents left. I don't have any grandparents left. Like all my family's passed.
Want to borrow mine?
One way that you could start to help your parents is if your parents are still alive, just call them. Call your mom.
Called her yesterday.
Call your
we
dad.
FaceTime.
Like I'm in that whole season. This year it's been very heavy. We're not very far into the year, but it's that see something, say something, or if you think about somebody, just don't think and ruminate on why you haven't talked to them in a long time. Like that was in a book or podcast I was just listening to too. It's like, a lot of times like they haven't went anywhere. Like just text them. And statistically, like if you reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, they get really excited.
Aww.
So that goes with like family too. So like check yourself. When's the last time you called your grandma or your grandpa if they're still alive, or any of that stuff, because life is short. And I say that life is getting longer, but with that, if there's this gap or if this thing that people are kind of sitting with that they haven't solved or resolved, it's not helping anything. So just
like don't be buried at 90 and like died at like 35 mentally.
Yeah. And there's also this is so true. And so there's even some of us that may have like weird tensions with our parents or our grandparents, or and so we want to reach out, but it's like, oh, I know how it's gonna go. I think one thing that does help is have you guys seen like that meme on Instagram? I guess it's like pebbling, where like you could send them just like a funny meme, and you could send them like sometimes it just helps like lighten the mood. Of,
my mom sends me way too many GIFs a day.
The GIFs.
Soften the blow.
Once I taught her that, I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have. Because now I'm like scrolling through looking for something important. They're all just like cat memes and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god.
Sparkles.
It's like I love you,
glitter.
like hearts, and I'm like, oh my goodness, where's the important insurance that I'm supposed to read for her? And it's like sandwiched by like a bunch of other stuff, and I'm just like,
where's the trust information?
But that's probably like well, I don't want to speak into your story, but I know for me, like that's a way to keep the relationship light and fun.
It's
when
like have boundary, but also kind of like have a system going so that it's like you feel kind of connected.
Yeah,
like
and
the
it
good
feels
morning,
good,
the
right?
good night text,
We communicate through GIFs, and it works.
Yeah, because I'm like memes, But if I send her anything crazy, she'd be like, "What does it say?" Like if it's too many words. So if it's just like 3 words, it's cool. She'd be like, "Ha ha ha,"
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of funny, like where it's leading into having the hard conversations. For me, like for you, it's see something, say something, right? Keep it simple. And for me, it's just like have more hard conversations, because that's how I was with my parents too. And a decade ago, I didn't execute until 5 years ago. I'm like, what's the hardest thing I can do today that will make tomorrow better? So growing back the relationship I didn't have with my parents are like the hardest thing ever, because your ego, your pride, like all of it, like the teenager comes out of me, and I all of a sudden get all angry, and I'm like, oh, maybe like this is good for me, like a healthy dose of anger. And I started going through memories with like my mom, and we're sitting there, and we're learning how to cry together, which is like really fucking awkward, by the way.
Did you bust out your CDs just to like get the soundtrack too?
I'm like, I don't know about you, but I'm quite an ugly crier. Once I get into it, it's like I would like to be alone.
See that.
Yeah, it's awful. Like it's so ugly. But it's the best, and it feels so liberated. And I think sometimes like us and our parents can just sit down and really just be humans together, instead of seeing them as an authority figure or as somebody that's supposed to lead you. And I think a lot of that angst and resentment is just us holding on to things that you look up to them as, when you were younger, and now you're not. You're both fully capable adults, and maybe maturity on your side is more on emotional side, and you can like share that back with them instead
that's
of
so
being like, you were supposed to take care of me, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something that kind of came on the last couple years, and that's something I try to refine. Like every week, I'm like, what's the hard conversation I can have with somebody today that builds better accountability, so that we can have a deeper, better relationship, rather than just going and getting old over the span of years, but having no depth in the relationship whatsoever.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really beautiful. I think that's important.
In your experience then, because you've sat with a lot of people, and then you're also the thing I love about you is that you're also very conscious and aware of just your own growth and all those things. But in the role that you've done in your vocation, sitting with all these different people, what's the lessons, I guess, or what's kind of the truth that you've came up with in your life? Actually, I'm going to steal questions from another great podcast person.
Is it Lewis Howe?
It is, yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah,
I'm thinking of the exact same question.
That was one of the first podcasts that ever got me like jacked about podcasts.
I told you, Dick Berlin, I'm in your mind.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
maybe
yeah,
he'll see this. You were the start for me too, Lewis Howe's personal development world, like 8 years ago. Yeah,
I can pull some strings. I kind of know somebody who
Stay
knows
on track.
him.
Keep it.
But yeah,
focus.
Like, what are the
Focus.
3 things that today, here and now, like, what are the 3 things that you know to be true? As it pertains to like what you do with your life?
Like as far as since working with seniors, what have I learned? I think most importantly is that, what first comes to mind is forgiveness. Because I see so many seniors that their source of pain or bitterness or anger is literally from a story they're holding on to from like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Wow. Sometimes it's an intense story. Sometimes it's a very small story that has blown up in their own mind for 20, 30 years. And it's made me very curious as to why we choose to hold on to certain things that maybe, and sometimes it's that, right? Like when we tell somebody the story, the outsider looking at it is like, that is so small. And yet that's the one you held on to for 30 years, but in their mind, it has become the biggest pain.
Like they're waiting for it to be validated for the amount of pain that they're holding on to or something.
Yeah. And then like on a deeper level that I probably don't have answers for is the ones that tend to be the most stuck in some of these pain and bitter stories is because there's something deeper. And it's usually like PTSD. And so like when I have clients that are veterans, I believe that it could be that they're holding on to this smaller hurt because they don't want to look at the bigger stuff that's down there. And do they need to look at that now that they're 70 or 80? I don't know. I don't have the answer. But can we help them find more joy and peace and fun in the now? Does that mean they have to unpack it? I don't know. Does it mean that we could just provide them more fun through forgetting about the stories? I think so. Sometimes it does help to forget, right? Like if you're 80 and you've been carrying this story for, some of the stuff that these gentlemen have had to see because they were in battle and they were in very traumatic situations at a very young age. I don't think they need to go back. I don't think they need to relive it to heal it. I think helping that generation learn to enjoy and learning to. And so what's that lesson for me is, sometimes I still get hung up on stupid stuff, why is my mind hung up on this one? I don't know. How can I let it go? Right. And so I love exploring the different modalities. I love breath work. I love meditation. I love all the different rabbit holes that we can go down on for healing. But I've been noticing, I've been on this trend in my own mind, my own thought process of like, I think we're done with this whole healing journey, that now it's time to just like keep growing and expanding and enjoy the growth and expansion. Like I think we've done a lot of the healing work for myself and collectively, that like we can actually step into that side of like more grace, more fun, more ease, more joy. And I think that's what I want to bring for our seniors, but then also in my own life, like keep enjoying the journey,
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that because, yeah, like a lot of people don't understand that when they get into this healing journey, like, and collectively we are a lot more aware than we've ever been. There's so much information out there that more and more people are getting exposed to, and they're joining that collective. The challenge with that is that some people feel like it's not that it's always going to be work, but you can actually get past most of your hard work and your hard trauma. Then you got to learn how to just live.
Yeah.
Like then it's just like it's like creating new memories. How do we create new memories, and how do we create them as adults, but the same way that we did when we were kids? Like I got to experience one of the best things ever, and it was right here in the heart of this city. I got to go roller skating, and you were there too.
Yeah.
And you were there too.
Roller skating is crazy.
I know.
It is crazy. Like, if anyone hasn't seen it, like, he makes me look like a 70-year-old woman. That's like buckling and shit.
That was me. That's probably why I didn't go back. There was a part of me that was like, I am shuffling.
Yeah, like the first day.
Like, I don't
think this is where I'm gonna try to work on these skills. Like, I'm afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah,
and not everybody can go back to what that thing was when they were kids that helped them just be a kid. But for me, that worked because like I wasn't thinking about anything that day except for, and it was great because my son showed up too, and I was just like, oh wow, like, you know, all that stuff matters, and like you can find that in new stuff. So I love everything that you're doing. How can people find you? Where do they go? And what's next?
So Peak Vitality -wellness, or I think it's Peak Vitality _wellness, or Ariel _Alicea on socials. And what's next? Just more fun for all of us and for the seniors. And you said something really good too of there's things that do come from our past that start to remind us of that joy. And you had also said, and also figuring out how to find it in new ways. And I think that's what's supposed to make life so fun, is that we keep rediscovering ways to keep enjoying this life.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
It's like, oh, I felt this feeling before.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. You've been incredible, and we're probably gonna have to bring you back. We got to bring everybody back.
Dave's like, this conversation is not long enough. No, I love conversations like these. Thank you so much for acknowledging kind of like the unseen of the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not before they're forgotten.
Yeah.
I don't know. I somehow thought it was a cool line. It didn't come out how I sounded in my head.
Now I'm like, wait, what did you say?
I like almost tapped into almost like a Batman vibe, but I wasn't that cool. So I'm like, fuck.
What was the line?
I don't know anymore.
What's it supposed to
We'll
be?
have to roll it back.
You need your Batman line. Like,
What is my Batman? What?
Oh, now I'm trying to think of some
No, the
Batman
Riddler
lines.
has a cool line. It's like, what gets harder to find with time and eats. Anyways, no, I fucked that up. Jesus Christ. I'm going to get a cease and desist from like the studio.
It's okay. You could just clip in a really good Batman line. It's out there, and it'll fit whatever you were trying to
Tawny
say.
fucked it up.
Pull up, Goose. Pull up.
This is the original clip that she did not get anywhere close to. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Please reach out to Dave and I on pursue.vegas. Slide into our DMs on social media, mostly Dave's, maybe ours.
And that's it.
I thought you were because you were like nodding. You're like, yeah, like the genie, like my turn.
Yeah.
And cut.
And break.
The idea of Pursue Vegas was to really highlight the local people that really make Vegas Vegas.
I love that aspect of how these visionaries are actually bringing people together.
When we hit record, our responsibility is to connect the people of our city so we can show the world who we really are.